Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our technical administrator training and updates today. It's nice to see all your faces back here for kicking off the school year. Some newbies and some veterans that are looking for a refresher. We have the training materials are in the chat for you guys to access. I do want to let you know what we're going to do is a guided tour of the permissions guide, but we are going to go off the rails, hopefully not to do too much death by PowerPoint for y'all. Got Cheryl Twitchell in the house. So excited to have her from CEPI. Wave, Cheryl, give everybody a shout out. Cheryl, if you guys have not worked with Cheryl before, she is one of the great team members that they have at CEPI. She does a lot with the assessment and accountability stuff. She does a lot with user administration, and she crafted the user manual that you're going to see today. I also have in the house my teammate, Dr. Rhonda Provost, who's going to be monitoring the chat and etc. So we're going to be as formal as we can, but know that we know you guys have lots of questions. Feel free to stop us. We're going to do a spin through the PowerPoint, and then we're going to go live on the site. One of the things that you might want to do is have your login ready to rumble, because you might want to log in and test a couple of things. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. You can join us on the slide deck. We are going to post this recording out on the MISchoolData PD toolkit, so you'll be able to access it. But basically our goal today is to have you guys understand a little bit about some of the changes that we made over the summer with user accounts, understand how to update some of the privileges and some of those unique permissions that you have to turn on so folks can see things. One of the newbies is the special ed dashboard, and you've got to check a certain box to make sure folks can see that. And wave to me if you've gotten lots of emails about, oh, I can't see that yet. So we'll show you how to make sure you can turn that on. And then we'll show you a couple other things that are coming down the pipe with regard to user privileges, especially accountability. If you have, I know there's several of you in the house that accountability, user administration, can you wave to me if you are not only a technical administrator, but also an accountability administrator? And some of you, maybe you don't know what you are, but somebody said, you're going to this meeting. So welcome, you'll hear all about it. Well, I'm Jen Parker, and I work at Macomb Intermediate. If you're brand new, I've been doing the MISchoolData PD thing since 2008 when I came to the ISD. But we monitor and manage all the professional development around the state. So this is one of the webinars in the many series. Today, what we're going to try and do is get you through all of the many resources that our PD group has put together to be a technical administrator. Sometimes you guys get referenced as back-end administrators. That phrase got coined, I don't know where along the way, but we'll try to help you figure out who you are and what you're supposed to be doing back there. Christy is also part of our team. She was not able to join us today, but if you don't have Christy Martin's email address, you might want to jot it down. But again, you guys have our contact information after today's broadcast. We're going to help you get up and running as a technical administrator. All the resources that we shared with you today, not only the slide deck, but also the permissions guides. I'm going to give you some handouts today. They're all in a folder called, with regard to a course, called MISchoolData Backend Administration. If you have not joined the Train the Trainer network, that's something you might want to jot down to circle back to myself or Rhonda about. Access to all these materials are canned slide decks, agendas, all kinds of stuff to support you in your training. Most of us, the reality is we're not doing solo MISchoolData trainings anymore. We're trying to grab a few slides to go to a principal's meeting or grab a few slides to go somewhere. But here is your Chinese buffet. If you don't have access to that, make sure you follow up with us. We want to make sure you can get into all these resources. So today we're going to take a look at the CEPI user account maintenance guide. But as you're going to find out, with the changes that happen to the portal all the time, there are a few tweaks. And so one of the things that you might want to do is, if you're tech savvy, you want to open up your PDF and use your annotator. Maybe you have a print copy and you want to make some notes, or maybe you just want to jot down in your own document or on paper some of the updates to this manual. I know Cheryl has, this is Cheryl's baby, and this evolves all the time, and we do have some updates, but as you guys know, you can't update it all the time. So we'll try and give you as many updates and walk you through the guide as we possibly can. This guide is out there on the MISchoolData website, and it is under user administration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where we're going to find that. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go ahead and sign in, and obviously you guys remember the process of the MyLogin, the MyLogin third party. And you know that once you log in, it's going to go out and it's going to make you authenticate. And this is the joy that we now have. Now, I've already authenticated a couple times today, so I don't have to authenticate, which I'm very pleased about. But where we're going to go is into admin and administration under manage users. Now, many of the resources, including this user admin guide, are located right here. So this user admin guide is here. There's also a permissions list reference guide, FERPA forms, and the FERPA forms, this link, I'm going to show you the new link that's going to be replaced. And Cheryl, I know, has got that on her list. These FERPA forms have been updated over the summer because they now include the accountability form. We used to have to collect 2 forms. You now are going to have to just collect 1. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if you're taking some notes, write down that we have moved to 1 form with all things FERPA, all accountability, all permissions, 1 form, and we're going to share that with you today. This user administration manual is out here in perpetuity. There's also the permissions list. There's also the link to FERPA if you need a refresher, and then some information on data privacy. So all those links are out here when you log in under admin and go to manage users. They're all right here, and we'll be walking you through that. All right. As we move through today's session, we're going to move through the sections of that manual. You're going to see a couple of things more than once because we want you to remember it, or we want you to have, we want to revisit the conversation as it connects multiple places. So if we're repeating ourselves, it's not because we're getting old, although we are, but there's a purpose, there's a method to our madness. All right. First things first, who are you as a technical administrator? Not going to make you listen to the song, but really what your role is you do that, you wear that hat really well. You guys probably got tapped because you're either a school improvement facilitator, you're a technical administrator at your ISD, you do stuff with technology and you know how to administer user accounts. That's really what you're doing in this role. You activate them, you maintain them, you update roles and permissions, you deactivate people when they leave your district, leave the districts or leave your county. You've got retirees, you've got new teachers coming in. You also have the roles and responsibilities of collecting FERPA. These forms have to be on file at your ISD. If you collect them digitally, that's fine. If you have taken the form and put it into a Google survey or a Excel form, that's fine. But if you ever get asked on an audit, you need to be able to provide the FERPA compliance forms that your users fill out when they ask you for an account. There's also the EEM authorizations and the preview and the accountability. You guys as technical administrators have a big role and responsibility to kind of filter through the people that ask for accounts and make sure that they pass the SNP test to get a user account. We showed you where those resources are, but one of the things that we wanted to share with you is on slide 13. Again, if you're taking notes, you guys get lots of emails as tech admins. I can't log into my login third party. I can't get the special ed dashboard to show. I can't see my middle school building. This slide 13 is kind of a reference sheet for you, who you're going to call. And we've given you some phone numbers. We've added these phone numbers for your reference. You might want to print slide 13 and put it by your user desk when you're admin and accounts, or save it for later so you know who you're going to call. Again, MISchoolData, it requires a MyLogin third party. We don't call CEPI for a MyLogin third party account. Call MyLogin third party. And we did give you the phone number and the special option 5, so you don't have to wait on the line listening to the wonderful music that they do play. Couple other things here. Account activation, people have to come to you for that. You guys do that once they've done their MyLogin third party. If you do find issues, Joe, I know in the house, has found several, and he's got a direct line to CEPI. He knows to call Cheryl for certain things. He knows who to call. So you guys will learn who to call at CEPI, but generally everything goes to CEPI help desk, and then they filter it to the other people. And then lastly, anything you find wrong with the materials or PD stuff, shoot an email to myself or Kathy Miller, or you could also consider Rhonda for that. Technical administrators, Rhonda, could you take a second and just tell them a little bit about the what this is and on the website?
Sure. This is the monthly directory, and I say that with monthly because if you made changes today, you're not going to see them until September 1st publication. So we update this. Our point of contact typically is the General Education Leadership Network. Kathy Miller represents our team with that group and provides that opportunity for the 56 ISD curriculum contacts to update any changes that have occurred in, over a 30-day increment. So we keep these updated. Then what we do is there's 2 places on the MISchoolData portal where this is updated. You'll find it in the support and help page, and Leanne Conley at CEPI is our point of contact to have that updated. And then we also have it in our PD toolkit that Jen is demonstrating right now under technical and training contacts. So if you have any changes to your ISD, either get them to your general education representative, or you can email me at raprovost@gmail.com. I'll put that in the chat. And then know that it'll be updated with the following month's publication.
Awesome. Okay. So with that said, you may want to visit that PD toolkit, double check that you're the technical contact. If you're also wearing that accountability contact hat, make sure it's correct and get those to RP. All righty. I did demo the technical and training contacts, where to find that. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and follow up and reach back. All right. In your role, you cannot administer accounts unless you are logged in. Once you log in, you should see this new admin tab. If you don't see the admin tab, your privileges need to be updated, and that means you should reach back to myself or Christy Martin. We can go in and update your admin account so that you can be an ISD user administrator. So make sure you double check that you see that. We already took a tour of what it looks like in Manage Users. You know that you can get some access and support up here. You know that these resources are available, but again, I am in Manage Users and that has to be activated for you. You have to have that unique permission. So we're going to move on to that next section of the manual and talk about coordination across systems. Several of you I know have gotten questions about, well, where's the data hub? How do I get to the data hub? Isn't the data hub and MISchoolData the same thing? Where do I get to, isn't BAA the same thing? Isn't MyKIP and MISchoolData working together? You guys are going to get a lot of those technical questions. Kathy's laughing, but she knows. Kathy, you know, these are the types of questions that fill my email inbox and yours too. So a couple of the pieces that we want to just share with you guys so you have it as a resource. One of the things that might go out in your notifications or updates for this month is a reminder to all your administrators when the EEM collection dates are, because Rhonda, tell them why they care about EEM.
Well, when you're out on the portal and you go into the dashboard, for school services and offerings.
Your parent
It's going-
dashboard.
The parent dashboard, you're going to find an area that it has contacts, and that contact will be the representation for school districts, whether it be the superintendent, whether it be the building administrator. And this is the time of year where this is very highly utilized with EEM so that the contacts are accurate when you are working on school improvement plans and with your various professional development teams. So these dates, Cheryl provides those to us so nicely. And we place those also in the talking points as reminders, but this is the snapshot. So basically the close of business on these days are when you need to have that information updated. And then SEPI the next day takes it into their platform to make the updates with the changes that you've made.
And Cheryl, we have a lot of folks that are on as a refresher. Can you talk a little bit about the changes here to school services and offerings? Because this used to, when I came to North Branch High School, I would see the list of the AP classes and all that. And again, I'm wearing my parent hat to find out what's here so I can do schools of choice or whatever I choose to do. Can you tell us a little bit about the change here?
So yeah, actually, we had some code pushed out this week that shouldn't have been pushed out. And so it's kind of all messed up right now. And sorry about that. We're actually working on getting it hidden because it doesn't look good. It's not working correctly, but go ahead and
forget all that and tell us about the good stuff, Cheryl.
I was going to say, but go ahead and pick like electives. Okay, so you're going to see, this is basically what's going to happen is we've kind of lumped all of the categories together on the screen. You can see like new icons for them, like it says electives, but now there's like this, nice, cool little icon next to it. And then to make it, I think we're trying to make it a little bit more user friendly in that instead of just a long list of all of the categories, you can still see the long list, but then you can see more clearly whether there is data available or not. So for arts, you can see like next to that on the left, there's a circle with the check mark in it. And that's kind of just a general, yes, there is data available. And then when you expand it, then you see an entire list of all of the art classes that can be offered. And for this particular school, which ones they do offer by the check mark or the X. So if there's a check mark, then those are the art classes that this school offers. If there's an X, then they don't. The goal was basically to give everybody the entire list of available selections that they would check in the EEM in that points of pride collection. And then based on what's available, what's checked, we say this is available, this isn't in the UI, so everybody can see what's what.
And the reason we bring it up to you all is because you may get help desk tickets saying, we have AP chemistry and it's not listed in our school services and offerings. This is one of the things that'll land on your desk. And the reason is because they didn't update it in the EEM. So here we are out of the gate at the beginning of the school year. You may want to just remind them of the EEM dates and that much of the information that lands in the parent dashboard as a promotion for their school district and school services and offerings is direct result of what they enter in the EEM. All right, long way to get there, but the other piece that we share in the slide deck for you guys as a resource, this is something that we created with MAISA and our Big Ten network to kind of help people understand the different roles of these different systems that they're using. And what does MISchoolData do? What is the data hub purpose? What's the purpose of the local data warehouse for those that are using something like that? And then how it connects with MyKib. So again, this is a resource to help you handle some of those tech requests that come into your help desk. All right, I'm going to kind of speed it up a little bit and we're going to talk about section 1 in that manual. And again, I'm just going to point you back here to the user maintenance guide that is available, and we're moving through these sections in a kind of lightning speed round manner to kind of walk you guys through and give you extra resources to help you with that manual. Okay, section 1 is all about account creation. You guys know that in 2020, we moved to this My Login for third party. My Login for third party is totally different than the My Login campground DNR accounts, you know, your retirement, your Secretary of State. It's a third party account. Folks don't have to have a secure or accountability user role if they're just using the public side of MISchoolData. This is a really nice handout for you. Slide 22, if you're taking notes. It helps people identify. It's really helpful for like your assistant soups or your principals to decide who needs what permissions in my school district. Does my third grade teacher need to have a login? Well, maybe if she's on the school improvement team. What does she have access to? What does she need to do? And then, hey, what do my principals need? So this is a nice handout for you guys to understand the differences between public access, secure with basic rights, and then secure plus accountability. So that is out there. All right. I think I've already covered that it is a My Login third party. We do have many folks that are going to be emailing you, perhaps saying they can't remember their login and password. That is going to be that's going to require them to reach back to my Login for third party about that. All right. When you go into the MISchoolData site to kind of look to see if they've got a My Login third-party account, if they have not activated, we'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. But there's difference between new users, transferring users, deactivating or removing, which Cheryl and I found since some of the updates that those are the same thing. But there's a couple ways you can find users to find out if they're in the system. Okay. Let's say you have a email in your help desk system that says, I'm Silly Sally, and I'm new at ABC High School, and my principal said to do this for Perform because I'm on the team, but I used to work at XYZ school. There are certain ways what you're going to go in, and they're probably already in the system. You're going to move them. You're going to give them a new building. However, if you have Silly Sally who has retired, you're going to need to remove her. So we're going to walk through the management of users that you guys are going to take care of. When you are in this manage users, the reason for the madness here is the fact that you guys can do searches by filter, which is a new feature. And many of us, because we've been doing this so long, we didn't realize we had the filter. But the filter button, you can just look for Smith. You can just look for those that are active. You can look by role. So don't forget that filter is there. It'll help you with your search functionality. All right. Here is a really nice reference for you guys on slide 28. It is updated and going to save you a lot of time and energy in emails. Again, I am on slide 28 and it is called How to Create a Login. So if I go to the, let's see, here we go. This has been recently updated. If I had a nickel for every email I get about how to create a MISchoolData account, I would be living in the Hawaiian Islands that Cheryl was describing when we first came out. Out of necessity, this document has been created. Cheryl and Rhonda and I updated it for today's broadcast. You're going to note that there have been several updates. This is something that you can print or you can email this PDF to your folks. It's going to eliminate a lot of stress and a lot of help desk tickets. It walks them through how to create a MyLogin for third party, when to contact you to ask for to be activated, what they would have had to have done before they ask you. Then it walks them through kind of like a little mini slide deck of what the process visually looks like. Go create a MyLogin third party, use your school email address, go in and authenticate and request access to MISchoolData. then contact your ISD and here's the technical contact that you would ask for. And then fill out your FERPAs and get them to your ISD person. And if you have issues, here are some phone numbers for you. So I will say that this used to be a one pager. Sorry, it's 8. John, is that all right? John, is that okay to have 8 pages? I'm sorry, but the emails that I have sent, it's just easier this way. So we've moved from 1 page to 8 pages. The reason I stall here is because here is our new FERPA form, folks. Can I have a drum roll? The new FERPA form actually takes the many forms that we used to have. We had a FERPA, we had a quiz answers, pre-test, post-test, we had an accountability form. This form now combines all of those into one. And Cheryl and her team have reviewed it and said, this is blessed, go ahead and use it. You will notice on page 1, it has the FERPA questions that we've always asked them to comply with and answer. But page 2 and 3 are where you guys come in as technical administrators. It is really important that as Cheryl takes over in the next couple of minutes and talks about giving people access, they don't know what they're checking here sometimes. And they're going to call you and say, well, what does this mean? We've given you a bunch of resources to kind of explain that to them. Do you want your local person to administer users? Some of you ISDs have your districts administer their MISchoolData accounts. They're going to need that. Accountability, very sensitive. Accountability is kind of a big deal. If you guys aren't seeing administer users, obviously we're going to go in and check that box. But all these boxes are what we see on the backside in manage accounts. Page 3 has got the accountability stuff. And I'm going to mention that there's 2 that are kind of the keys to the kingdom. And Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got 2 that really have to be turned on for your administrators or teachers to see student level data. And it also has to be turned on for them to see the special ed dashboard. And the 2 of them are that really need to be checked are this includes sensitive information and view preview data. Those are 2, if you're taking notes, you want to understand what those look like. You might want to take a principal, turn them on for him, log in with him, see what he sees, and then turn them off and see the difference if it's helpful to you. But Cheryl, do you want to mention some of the resources that are available by turning those permissions on for someone?
Well, first, the include student pathways with sensitive information is specifically for the student pathways report. So they want the view preview data, and then the permission that's right below that for view. Can you scroll down one more page?
Yep, view preview data at the very bottom.
But there should be one more. Isn't there one more page?
Yep. Let's scroll here.
Because it's the view sensitive.
View student performance data. There it is.
That's the one that they want.
And that one too.
That one and the view preview data. Those are the 2 that they really want. The other one is for student pathways, isn't really for like all of the student level data for like assessments, graduation, and early childhood reports.
So we've got the student pathways with sensitive.
Yep.
Depending on their role. We've got view preview data, which with stuff in preview coming out in preview here.
Yep.
In August with our
all the assessment
testing.
data. And like you said, that
use,
also gives them access to the special ed dashboard right
and
now.
the view student performance data. So those need to be turned on.
Yep.
And you'll notice that this FERPA form, it requires a superintendent signature, and those permissions look exactly like what you're going to find with a person. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this principal. And I'm going to scroll down and look at the permissions. And when you look at permissions, guys, the permissions are going to run right like your FERPA form that you hand out to them. Depending on the role, he's a school principal at Spencer Road Elementary. Here are the permissions that are not available to that role, but here's what can be turned on. So make sure that you've given, this including and early childhood, those should be turned on if the superintendent signs off on it, and you can guide them to what they might need to see. All right, I'm going to cancel the edit on that user and move us back. And that is the handout. So that is the handout that we've created with the process. A lot of folks are using that, just pushing it out to principals so they have it from the beginning of the year. I know a lot of ISDs are meeting with superintendents and giving superintendents a copy of the handout to say, hey, here's what we need to have signed and used in our tech department. All right. If you're doing a presentation and trying to get people to understand, we've also given you the slides. Again, the My Login third party, request it, request access. One of the common problems that I get are people will say, I've got a My Login third party, but I don't see MISchoolData. There's a lot of apps in My Login for third party. You got to ask for the app. Think about it like your iPhone or your whatever phone you're using. You're adding apps. These educators need to understand they got to add the app for MISchoolData so that it's available to them. We talked a little bit about reaching out to the technical contact. Here's the link to the form I just went over with you guys. Here is another way for you to access the form, or click the hyperlink to access the the technical contact list that's out on the PD toolkit. Here is a bigger version of the FERPA form. If you want to go in detail with each one and talk through each permission, you can do that. And then a reminder that they've got to have superintendent or a designee signature. And lastly, we're going to go a little bit deeper into accountability. You guys, Dave Judd and Chris Jans are really protective of who can see what in the accountability information, and Cheryl's smiling because she knows. Do not turn on accountability permissions if you're an accountability administrator without maybe blood signatures of superintendents on those forms. I don't know. We'll talk a little bit about that. But remember, accountability permissions, if you're just a technical administrator and don't have accountability administrator role, you probably cannot log in or assign privileges. All right. Something new. For those of you that are jumping on and listening to the broadcast just for a refresher, there is a new field that came with the redesign that we really want you guys to be using. As you add accounts, as you transfer users, as you are making edits to accounts, we need you to be using that comment field to let us know what the updates have been. Because for example, Joe, I'm not going to throw you under the bus. I'm just going to use you as an example. So Joe and I were troubleshooting his accountability. He was having issues with his account. And we couldn't understand, why is he not seeing the accountability information? Why is it not showing up? So I was tracking everything kind of like a help desk ticket here in the comments of his account. I turned on this, I turned off this. So please use those comments. We know that people move ISDs. That user account might be somebody else's problem eventually. So please make sure that you use those comment features. All right. I'm going to pause for just a second. So far, are there any questions in what we've covered before we blast on through to show you some slides about the user experience? Christy, anything? You've been really patient and quiet there. Okay, we're going to keep going. I'm on slide 38, and I'm just going to move through quickly a couple of things that you might use for handouts for folks. They request a My Login third party. We do get some questions about the work email address. please make sure that when they're using the MyLogin third party that they have put in a work email address. But here's what you guys are going to get in your tech inbox. I went from XYZ High School to ABC High School. My email at XYZ is not the same. Can't you fix that in MISchoolData? Can anybody tell me the answer to that question? Where do I fix where do I put my new email address?
It's in their security settings.
It's in their security settings of MyLogin third party.
Mhm.
Only place they can change their email address. Thank you, Barbette. Only place they change their email address. We can't do that for them. They have to go to their MyLogin third party account, update their profile in their settings. So you can't help them with that. They need to do that before they come to you and request that you change them from XYZ to ABC. Questions on that one? We get that a lot. Okay. New users, we've walked through this process, but one of the things that they may be calling you about is the fact that, again, this request access, they haven't added MISchoolData as an app there. And once they've done that, they do need to log in and they need to agree to the terms and conditions. And this will walk them through the screenshots of what that new account process looks like to authenticate themselves. Many of them, they say, well, I got a MyLogin third party, I'm good. Nope, they need to go in, authenticate, request access. So here are some screenshots for you guys if you want to pull them out and send them to somebody who is troubleshooting some of their issues with an account in MyLogin third party. Okay, and again, here's that handout you can send them.
And Jen, I just wanted to add in there that just because they see that success message on the screen doesn't mean that they're done. There's still one last step that they still need to go back to MISchoolData and log in again until they actually see that message on the screen that says your account is pending approval by the system administrator. They're not done. So they need to finish that last step in order for you guys to be able to see that person in the table to update their account and assign them a role and permissions.
Thanks, Cheryl. All right. And the user will, after they get all that done, go in and log in and remind them of that multi-factor authentication that we all know and love. Thanks, Cheryl. Okay. We are to the spot where we're talking a little bit about user permissions and what those look like. So I bring us as a reminder back to the fact that you guys are really giving secure and accountability access. So I will turn it over to Cheryl to talk about some of the issues with once they get logged in and what those look like.
So Jennifer did a good job of going through the public and secure with accountability. So I'm not going to touch on that. I think you guys are probably all aware with the MyLogin third party, if you're inactive for a certain amount of time, you are automatically timed out. And it's not always as obvious because you'll be working along and seeing what you need or can access what you need. And then all of a sudden you can't. And really the big clue is if you look up in that right corner, it's either going to be like sign in or sign out. And if it says sign in, if it says sign out, you're logged in. If it says sign in, you're logged out. So that's really your big clue there. We touched on the permissions list and descriptions table. Obviously you see the permissions list here, but then you probably, if you're newer to it, or sometimes even still not newer, there's a bunch of different permissions, but then it's like, well, how do I know what I'm giving a person access to? And I think the next slide, okay, we'll get to it. So depending on the role that you have, that's going to dictate the permissions that you're assigning to a role. And obviously there's there's different permissions. Administer users, the technical administrators are going to assign those roles for accountability. Again, you've got the form that you have to fill out with that blood signature and all that stuff. And then there's the special access to the train the trainer information. And I'm pretty sure Jen is the only one that can give those permissions. So you'd have to reach out to her to get that access. And then for the administer users, who's doing it? You've got your ISD technical administrators and then your local district technical administrators. And obviously that permission has to be checked in order for them to be able to make any adjustments to those user roles.
Is there anybody on the call today who lets their local districts add their own MISchoolData users? Anybody? For the most part, it's not a good idea. You guys at the ISD should keep the keys of the kingdom. Not going to say it's not possible, because we know that ISDs have different relationships, but what Cheryl's talking about here, when you check the box for administer users, make sure you might want to black that out on your FERPA forms that you send out to districts if you don't want to give them that privilege. Just be wary of what you're doing.
Right. And then for the accountability roles, obviously we've talked about that, about, you know, who should have those roles and permissions and access to what. Like the list says, district assistant superintendents and curriculum directors, building administrators, people that work with the data, assessment data. And then there's the specific accountability roles. There's the administrators and then the users. And then it would just be at the ISD district and school levels. And then whether or not they can create accountability issues and so on. And again, to reiterate, all of that is included in that new FERPA, the one pager that's now the 8-pager form, but everything's there as far as your permissions and what you're going to check for each individual.
Cheryl, we have a quick question in the chat.
Sure.
Is the accountability user the only one that can remove the permission from a user? Say, for example, if a superintendent leaves.
Are you talking those? Oh, I mean, you're talking like just those accountability roles or just the user altogether?
I'll go off mute.
Sure.
So that would be a instance where if I try to remove the location, in other words, I know that superintendent is no longer in our ISD, but is in another district downstate. If I try to remove that location, I don't think I can do it as a technical administrator. Is that correct?
You should be able to. Yeah.
Well, I just tried. We had Deb Snyder, our assistant superintendent for Gen Ed, just retired. Her and I were both listed as ISD accountability administrators. I cannot remove her permissions, however.
And that person, I mean, just to clarify, that person falls within your ISD hierarchy.
Yes.
Right.
You'd have to call myself or Christy and we can. So go up the chain. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great example, Joe and Trey. Good example. So if you guys have the same permissions at your ISD, yeah, you can't remove each other's permissions, but you could ramp it up to either the CEPI help desk or call the MISD help desk, and Christy or I will do that for you.
Right. And that's, yeah, I forgot about that. Depending on which level at the hierarchy that you are, you can only administer users for your level or below. And sometimes with your level, it depends on the role, I think, what you can and can't administer.
And I'm going to jump in here on slide 61. If you're taking notes, this one kind of, we get every fall, we have people asking us to give them resources to help walk their superintendents through who needs what permission on this accountability form. you know, and you hope to only do it once in the lifetime of the administrator at the district. But every fall I get questions about it. So Cheryl and I are going to tag team the accountability piece. You guys in the house there's two possibilities. You are either a technical administrator or an accountability user. You might be in both roles. To do the accountability administration piece, you have to have that permission turned on. So you have to have ISD accountability administrator turned on so that you can tap your districts with accountability, let them create, edit, or appeal. You have to have the administrator hat to administrate anything accountability in your ISD. However, you might have a school improvement and data consultant in your ISD who wants to know about anything school data related, who wants to know about the accountability stuff and is in charge of that kind of stuff. That person needs to be an accountability user at your ISD. Okay. And we've got a couple of more slides to kind of help you understand, but you administer the accounts, you grant the keys to the kingdom, but your data person at the ISD, your data consultant who understands accountability and can talk it at a board meeting, they need to be a user, okay, an ISD accountability user. At the district level, the guys like the soups and the assistant soups, or the ladies and gentlemen that are soups or assistant soups who are getting information from their building principals and are actually on phone with the state saying, hey, we got a problem here. Those are district accountability. And they are either an administrator where they can give the keys to the kingdom to their principals, or they can allow their principals to see the accountability information. We strongly discourage you giving districts the right to be an accountability administrator. We really strongly encourage you to keep that at the ISD level, but we don't want to step on the toes of whatever relationships you have established. Just to understand what the difference is. And then the last one is a school accountability user, which is a principal who, you know, the soup is going to send down the data and say, look at it, tell me if we need to create, edit, or appeal, let me know. Okay, that's the school accountability user, that's the principal. And he might be given some extra privileges, or she might be given extra privileges to actually get on the phone with the state, but we're going to show you what those look like with permission boxes that you check for a user. Okay. Cheryl, how'd I do?
You did really well. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Much better than I would have.
So let's start with the difference between creating, editing, access, and accountability, these three buckets. Can you tell me a little bit about these three buckets of access?
Sure. So we tried to lump the permissions together in a manner that made more sense and you could easily find what you wanted to do. So all of the administration, if you're giving people access to administer users or create anything that has to do with the accountability roles, if you're creating users, whether it's ISD, district, or school, or being able to edit those user roles, those are all listed in the administration section. So you can see the create district accountability user, or the create the ISD accountability user, or the school user, or editing those. Access to the data is in the middle, obviously, and then at the bottom, the accountability, we have those very specific roles where people can either download the accountability student data files, or they can view the information, or they can create and submit accountability issues. So those are very specific to those accountability roles. And so depending on the access the person needs, you would check any one of those permissions for them to be able to access those data.
I want to just highlight these here. Warning, Will Robinson. Warning, warning, warning. These boxes are not checked for a reason. You are going to be the ones checking those boxes and giving them those access, the create, edit, and submit. If you check those boxes, you better make sure that they've been checked on the FERPA form and that you have superintendent authorization. That gives them a direct line to the state. You will be fielding the phone call from Chris and Dave when they make sure, I can't stress enough, do not turn those on unless you have them checked on the FERPA form. They give them the keys to the kingdom and accountability. It's very important that you do not turn those on unless you have the authorization. Okay. I think I beat that horse and it is dead. All right. We have given you a couple of other slides to help you understand this. The ISD account administrator role, you guys are, here's what automatically comes on with that and you can do. You can administer users, you can create district accountability users, you can create ISD accountability. That's all the stuff that you can do. Notice those permissions are on. That's what you guys have access to. If you need more access, you need somebody above you as an accountability administrator to turn it on. The ISD accountability user, here's your data and assessment person, your consultant at your ISD. Here's what they can do when you give them that ISD accountability user role. Here's what they can see. You've got many of them that think they want to be able to talk to the state. You'll have to turn on the create, edit, and submit for them. But again, make sure you got authorization. Those are not turned on for a reason, but most of them are going to want that. So you might want to make a note that on slide 65, in accountability, the create, download, submit, edit, those are permissions usually your data consultant at the ISD has. Okay. The third one, district accountability user role. That's your district people, your assistant soup, your soup, and the principals that are really not the principals. Okay. District accountability user role. Here's those three again. They're not turned on for a reason. Make sure the soup, soup has signed off on an assistant soup to have those. Usually your superintendent is the one talking to the state. So usually a superintendent would have these three turned on. They might want your assistant superintendent to have these three turned on because they want them to be able to call the state. But just realize, warning, Will Robinson, got to have signatures. And the last one, here's our school principals. Again, you could turn them on if the superintendent says, here's what they come with. Here's what is generic as a school accountability user. Hopefully these are helpful to you guys as you come back to this when people are asking for accountability. I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to ask if there's any questions about accountability user administration. Anything that we didn't cover that you want to go deeper into, or technical questions while we've got Cheryl.
If somebody has had the accountability and now needs to be removed, we're able to do that, correct? Or do we need to go higher up?
So you, Barbette, are a ISD accountability administrator.
Yep.
You can go into that person's account, remove them, remove the role, or you could remove access to their district if that's what the case was. So
Okay,
yes.
so if they're marked accountability on your screen you have here and it says create accountability users, I can physically go in and uncheck that create accountability users.
Yes.
If it's no longer
Yes.
in need
Yes.
for that person. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Kathy, you had a question?
Yeah, and I don't think I phrased it well in the chat because for some reason, I'm still stuck on the ISD superintendent role as what I think now is the technical administrator role. I've been doing this too long. So last year there was a conflict when there was the ISD accountability administrator permissions so that we could assign those with the technical administrator account. Has that been resolved?
Unfortunately, no. It's so sporadic when things don't work or do work. with those accountability roles. And every time we're notified, we've been working with our vendor and our IT staff, and they haven't been able to isolate what the actual issue is. But we do have workarounds on our side where we can rebuild something or clear some cache or whatever, and that seems to resolve the issue, but it can take a little while for that to happen. So at least we can fix it, but it sometimes isn't an immediate fix. It takes up to a couple of hours for the resets that we do to actually kick in and be available to you guys. So
And so I pulled up
yeah.
the comment field from Kathy's account because she is kind of experienced the same thing that Joe and I experienced.
Yep.
With the accountability, having the access that she needs to have to administer accountability at her county, as well as administer users and some of the other data, student data that she needs access to. So we've had to go in to change her from ISD superintendent to ISD accountability administrator. And we've been keeping running notes in the comments so that we can verify, because Cheryl's aware and they've been troubleshooting this. So
Yeah,
that's how you guys can help us help SEPI to fix some of the issues or tweaks in the user maintenance. Thanks for throwing this up, Paul.
yeah, we have not given up on it. I mean, we will get this resolved. We just don't know when. But you know, in the meantime, we can do our temporary fix for the accountability roles so that you guys can access those location menus and hopefully administer the roles the way that you need to.
Thank you.
Or yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I remember right. Whatever I was last spring, I couldn't assign accountability to users. So then I got flipped to being able to assign accountability users, but then I lost the ability to download data to support districts with MIKIP and strategic planning. I thought, well, that's odd.
Right.
And so it looks like I'm currently can do the accountability, but at some point I'll need to contact one of you and say, okay, I really need to be able to download and access this other stuff. So
Right. And what we've tried with your account, Kathy, is with the access to data, we have given you, we checked all the boxes so that hopefully you will be able to see that, but that's where Cheryl and Red Cedar are working right here.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
That data passing through to the accountability.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be resolved, but you raise a good point here. I'll circle back to what Joe had mentioned earlier, when you and Deb, you in an ISD accountability administrator role cannot create an ISD administrator or edit an administrator. So those are permissions that are turned off. All righty. I'm gonna get us out of accountability. Any other questions about accountability? Keep them coming. And we're gonna shift gears here to the train the trainer piece. And you guys know that the train the trainer has been out there since 2012. It's what brings all these resources to you. Many of it is under lock and key. What I'm going to share with you is what has been rolled out in the last year or so with regard to the PD toolkit. Because you've got folks that need resources and we want them to be able to see it. So we want you to understand what turning on the train the trainer permission does. So please watch carefully. I am in the support section and I am under the PD toolkit. Brings me into this section that is part of publicly available. But what the difference is when I click on train the trainer, you guys can see the top piece, like these on-demand PD materials and some, here's the reminder of today's session and the technical updates that we might see you for 20 minutes or 30 minutes over the school year. And some other PD, but right down here is the keys of the kingdom. All that stuff in the Google Drive is linked here in the training course menu. They can copy and paste this deck, the slide deck, and it gives them access to the resources that we've shared out. You cannot see this unless that train the trainer box is checked as a permission in MISchoolData. So for example, if I want to see the early childhood, the most recent early childhood deck to grab 5 slides to use with my early childhood or I'm going to do a presentation for special ed and I want to show them the new dashboard. I go into the special ed dashboard slide deck, all these different decks that are out here. You cannot see those unless that permission is turned on. So when I go to admin and I go to manage users, and we'll just pull Kathy up again. Kathy, okay if I keep using and abusing you? Okay. So I go into Kathy's account. And when I look at her permissions, she's got train the trainer turned on. The way she got access to that was an online course that she took through us and through Rhonda or myself, because there's a lot of resources there that we don't want people to use and not know how to use them. But train the trainer is how they get access to it. If you feel folks need to have access to train the trainer, like they're your school improvement consultants or whatever, feel free to turn those on. Just out of courtesy, please shoot myself and Rhonda an email so we can follow up about the train the trainer course. All right, so that's enough about the train the trainer stuff. Any questions on all that and the resources? Okay, gonna speed this up. All right, Cheryl, this is you to go on a deeper dive of
All
the
right.
resources or the user
So
roles.
the previous slide gave you page numbers within the user administration manual. But what I did when I created this manual was broke out basically all of the different levels. So state of Michigan, ISD users, district users, school users, ONSRs, and IHEs, and the roles associated at each level. And then also with the table, it will tell you which permission that they have that is inherent to it, so automatically assigned as a default, or if it is not applicable to that role, or if it's configurable. So, just at a glance, you can see what type of permissions can be assigned to each user role at each level. I'm not going to go through detail with any of those. I mean, I think, you're all used to administering them, so you can see the permissions associated with each role. But if you're new to it, it's a nice quick at a glance to get used to what's available.
All right. Some of the commonly requested user roles and are what you guys are going to get with your FERPA permissions right now. So what we did is we pulled some of the most common ones so you would see what to turn on for those folks or some suggestions, because I get a lot of requests like, what boxes do I check for my assistant soup? So here's the first one. You get a brand new ISD superintendent. What boxes do you check? What should they need to be able to see? Here are some examples. And this is in your, this is in the manual. Looks like this is a kind of an old screenshot, but the including student pathways and sensitive information, those checks that we did earlier, the early childhood sensitive, obviously they want to be able to see if a kid had a great start and now what the connection is to their 3rd grade M-step. You want them to be able to see preview data and student performance data. So these are 5 of the check boxes that you probably want a superintendent to have at the ISD level and possibly at the district level. You also have lots of consultants in your ISDs, and they might be working with data, they might be working with MyKIP, whatever. Here are some of the things that we usually think about turning on for somebody as a school improvement consultants at your ISD. The accountability ones, the student pathway information, the train the trainer, the view preview, and view student performance data. Again, your ISD soup has to sign off on these to be turned on. You need to have a reason. You need to have local districts say it's okay for them to see the kids in their buildings. So make sure when you give an ISD consultant any of these permissions, you've got that signature form. Any questions on what an ISD consultant could see or should see? Okay. A district assistant soup or curriculum director. Here are some that we suggest for that. We've given you a list for school principals. If they are administering users, or if they are a school accountability user, what might we turn on for them? So they're going to call you. They're going to say, Christy, I need to know what to check on this FERPA form. I don't know what any of these permissions are. I don't have time to read this damn form. What should I have? And you're going to go to this page and you're going to say, okay, you're a school principal. Here's what you could have. And they're going to check those boxes and get signed off. So we're trying to make it easy for you guys. We know the FERPA form is long, and the administrators don't have time to understand what the permissions are. That's you guys' job to kind of filter it for them. And then lastly, the school improvement team, a teacher at a district. If they're coming for school improvement or they're doing stuff with data, they got to have a few more extra permissions. These are boxes that I usually check for my local district school improvement teachers. I usually check these, help them check it on the form, and this is what we give them. All right. New user accounts. You guys have all these resources. Here's a reminder of the process. We talked a little bit about editing user permissions and that the email address cannot be changed here. That is there. Where do we change an email address for somebody?
My login security.
My login third party. Thanks, Barbette. You can't change that work email. They've got to change it, and then it'll populate here for you. FERPA forms, using the comment feature, all some reminders. All right. Resetting a password. It can't be done, Captain. You can't do that. They do that in my login third party. You don't have to do another password reset ever. Okay. Cheryl, do you want to give these guys the fall, spring reminders of, I guess we're doing manage users.
Sure. So basically, at the beginning and end of the school years is a really good time to review all of the users that you have and make sure everything looks good. If you've got people at the beginning of the school year that are no longer working for you and they still have access to your district or ISD or whatever, you need to remove the locations and remove their role, location, basically deactivate their account. But you do that by removing all locations. So you'll want to come and basically the easiest way to do that, looking at this slide, you'll want to come to the manage users table, filter on your district and download the spreadsheet. Then you've got something right there to look at and you can review everything. You'll do that at the beginning of the school year, end of the school year. It's just a good way to keep up on everything and make it a habit so that things are as current as they can possibly be for the beginning and end of the year.
We have a lot of folks that ask our ISD help desk to print the list of users, their current users in their district for MISchoolData, hand it out to them at their first meeting and say, oh, this person's gone, and then give them back to you guys so you can do the account maintenance. So think about doing that as we're kicking off the year.
And yeah, that was just kind of showing. So yeah, spring and fall, beginning of the year, end of year, that kind of thing is a good reminder of when to do that. And just a reminder, there is no batch deactivation. Everything is individual only. So you have to go into each individual user account and remove those locations in order to inactivate their accounts. And I'm easily amused. You're dead to me. You're just dead to me. I love it. But again, deactivating account, it used to be in the legacy functionality, there was an actual button where you could click to deactivate it. That functionality was never transferred over to the redesign site. So deactivation means removing a location. We'll just keep reiterating that. It's one and the same. If somebody says deactivate the account, you're going in and you're removing all locations from a user's account.
Because we can't remove their MyLogin third-party account. That's their account. They might be using it for EEM, or they might want to attach it to their new district role or whatever. We're just removing
You're
them from our private Idaho.
Yep,
Send them down the
you're
road,
basically,
you're dead to
yep,
me.
you're just getting rid of all their access to MySchoolData. But yes, that my login account isn't just for MySchoolData, it's for lots and lots of other access.
And what we tried to do here is, you'll notice this one says retirees. It's got the list of what you should do. This one says change district. It's some reminders of what to do. If they left the district, here's some reminders of what you should do. Change buildings and roles. Here's some screenshots to help you, just so you have those to refer back to when you need them. All right. The FAQs, Cheryl, I'm going to take them to the user administration guide.
Yep.
And I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and some of the
Yep.
FAQs.
Starting on page 40, there's just a handful of frequently asked questions. And so if you're new to the process, or if you're not sure how to do something, you can come here first to see if we've already addressed it, like how do you become an ISD technical contact? And there's a link there where you can actually take the training, get the information that you need. But what is it and how do you become, that kind of thing. And that's both for like districts and for the IHEs, because not that it matters to you, but the colleges and universities also have administrators. Anyway, there's lots of different FAQs in there addressing different things, and they're available in the manual for you.
So we just remind you that there's more information here. Here's your contacts. We've got just the screenshot to show you where the back-end administration course is. Some additional resources are out there. There's professional learning opportunities. We talked a little bit about the Train the Trainer. You guys may know that we have a YouTube channel. We have courses in EduPass if folks are looking to learn the Getting Started class. And then we invite you guys to join us. We're going to be doing some technical updates, 20 to 30 minute technical updates. Cheryl and her team do a slide deck for our regional advisor every month. And those resources get put out in Rhonda's publication, which is Talking Points, but often we get follow-up questions. So we're going to host these. These are as a drop-in basis. They're going to be a chance for you to ask questions. They're very informal, but we're going to use the slide deck. Cheryl and her team, or someone from her team, will be on to give you guys what's happening under development or coming soon. You'll get sneak information like when the AER or when preview. Cheryl, is there any sneaky information or double top secret probation that you could tell them about preview and information, maybe to give them a tip? What are the kinds of things you'll tell them at these meetings?
Is there anything specific you want me to mention? Or
is September 1st a magic date for anything? Maybe.
I thought maybe that's what you were getting to. So
maybe.
It was previously announced by MDE in their spotlight communication for the assessment embargo and public release. The embargo has been pushed back a day or so. It'll actually be the assessment data will be under preview starting tomorrow. And then we plan on having it available, publicly available on September 1.
Awesome. So those are the kinds of tips and tricks you're going to get. The other thing I'm going to mention to you is that we just launched over the summer the special ed dashboard, which can only be accessible by turning on those 3 check boxes that we shared with you, the student preview data, sensitive data. The new special ed dashboard is something that you might want to share out with your special ed directors. some of you guys are train the trainer and some of you are just technical administrators, but for the purposes of conversation, this new special ed dashboard is very unique. It's got many of the reports and downloads that our special ed directors need for state reporting. It is live. It is here. We have slide decks that are available. If you come out, again, I'm in the K-12 under special education, this special ed dashboard, okay? You only will see that if it's been turned on as a permission. So I'm going to go into admin. I'm going to go to administration and I'm going to go to manage users. And I'm going to look at Kathy Berry's. And Kathy did have all 5 of those boxes checked for access data. But Cheryl, can you point us to the ones that we need to make sure are turned on for her so that she can see the special ed dashboard?
Really, the only one that has to be checked is view preview data. The
View
data
preview data.
are currently behind preview. So the only way that you're going to see that report is if you have permission to view preview data.
So technical administrators, you got to check that box if it's a special ed person, or they won't be able to see the special ed dashboard. So please make note of that. That's another tip and trick, that the kind of stuff that we'll share with you in our 20 minutes or 30 minutes together during our technical updates that are going to be occurring throughout the school year. Thanks everybody for joining us. We are going to pause here for a second and take any questions, but we will pause and stop the recording and say thanks for being on, and thanks for administering accounts in MISchoolData. It is, you guys are very important to us. So we will stop right there. Rhonda, you got the recording? I'll stop the recording. Yes.